All right, we're back. Shush. All right, I wanted to clarify one thing for those of you that will be listening to the recording and for those of you in the room as well. We've had some trouble changing over the accounts from the info@caria.ca to receive payments into our bank account. So I'm sorry for all those that have tried and it didn't really happen or go anywhere. You can cancel that payment, and I'm sorry, but you can transfer it for now to cdooleyrealestate@gmail.com. I don't know if you can read that from the live video, but that's CD as a dog, OOLEY, real estate, all one word, @gmail.com. Or you can phone me to clarify at 403-597-0284, and we'll get that all figured out for your memberships for the year. And again, that includes all your attendance for all 8 meetings of the year, any workshops or additional events that we have, like cash flow games or workshops to elaborate more on the process for acquiring properties, whether it's property analysis or elaborating on any of the strategies. You certainly have free attendance to those with a membership. So memberships are $100 per person until the end of September, plus $50 for spouses, and that's that right there. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to get started. There's been a number of questions over the summers. Okay, well, how do I get started? How do I find deals? I guess the first thing you want to think about is determine your why. What's the big reason why you want to, do real estate? Why do you want to establish a portfolio? Is that a strong enough why to get you to pull the trigger? We want to really help people get to that point where they can do that, take action without having that fear, with experienced people within the room, experienced realtors, mortgage brokers, money lenders, people that have those $100 plus to help hold you by the hand to acquire your next property. And of course, that first one's always the hardest. After that first one, it'll get a lot more easier. And I could, attest to that. That first one was an agreement for sale. I had no idea what I was doing, so I called up my friend Andrea, and she's like the agreement for sale expert, and she totally guided me through the whole process, and I gave her a little bit of a fee for her time and effort to help me, and we got that going pretty good, and now I'm pretty confident that I could do that strategy myself without additional help. So determine your why, and determine how much you're willing to invest in yourself. Nothing's really free in life. You can get free education. I mean, you go to the library, Red Deer Public Library passes are free, and there's a wealth of books in there, like Rich Dad, real estate books. There's a number of books that I have on my PowerPoint, and if you have questions about which books you can start out with, certainly reach out to me. There's seminars that like Keith Westfall and myself have went to, where it really opened up our minds and gave us a few courses to kind of really launch ourselves with the right strategies and thoughts. And groups like this, where $100 you can connect with people and get almost free education on that note. And how much time are you willing to invest in yourself? You really have to figure that out. How much time are you willing to put in per week? You can't just sit at your computer desk and wait for deals to come to you. You have to dedicate that time to reach out there, connect with people, find those deals, or connect with those realtors or mortgage brokers or other investors to help you find those deals as well. Come up with a plan. Planning your strategies does take some thought, whether it's the type of strategies that you're going to use. Is it more quick cash that you want? Where certain strategies like flipping homes or rent-to-owns or wholesaling, what that is where you get a property under contract for a really good deal. You're making money in that buy, so significantly under where it could be especially if that property were fixed. So you're buying that property at 60 to 40 cents on the dollar, get that property under contract, and then you can sell it to someone else for anywhere between $1,000, $5,000, $8,000, depending on how lucrative of a deal it is. So that's wholesaling. That's quick cash. Or you could just do a rent and hold kind of strategy where you're just acquiring property, holding them and letting them kind of go for the long run, like I explained earlier. And then building a passive income / retirement fund. Or you can be somewhere in the middle. So there's so many different strategies to know, to be able to utilize. You can intermix a few of them. And then there's certain high risk, you have to determine whether you want to do high risk or low risk kind of opportunities. Tim, you have a question?
Are there books that give you breakdowns on strategies so you can actually understand where do I want to go? Which vehicle do I want to take?
I
What
believe,
applies to me and my position?
yes, I believe there are a couple of books. I'll have to dig in and find those. I think Ken McElroy's ABCs of Real Estate Investing. I don't know if that elaborates on different strategies, but I think it's a pretty basic book. I do know that the courses that Keith Westfall and I have taken, they actually sell those different strategy courses. And I've taken the lease option, which is rent to own, for $5,000. And it's $5,000 per course. And I mean, it seems like a big amount, but that's what you pay in for a course at the college. So whether you utilize that knowledge and make that return back for yourself. So there's lease option, and through that Rich Dad Canada, that they sell those courses for all the strategy. They even sell courses on risk mitigation and asset protection. And very useful to know to protect your protect your downside and increase your upside on the on any deal. And what that means is mitigating that risk for protecting your downside and increasing that cash flow and maximizing that profitability of the property.
I was gonna say, most books that I've seen are usually break down a specific strategy for the book. So it's usually an expert that deals in something like rent to own, right? There's tons of books out there on the rent to own strategy, right? So I think if you look up a specific strategy on Google, you'll find tons. And maybe we could even post some that we've read and some of our members have read that we like. All of you guys, why don't we try to do that? If we've read a book, a real estate book that's really valuable, let's post it for our members and share it and encourage them to read it.
Yep.
Make sure it's Canadian.
Big thing too. Make sure it's Canadian based, unless you're
Huge. There's rent-to-own courses out there that are American-based, and contracts are no good in Canada. And people are brainwashed is a little stronger. Brainwashed. This is the contract you've got to use. And as a mortgage broker, if that was a contract registered title, you technically like you not get a mortgage at the end of the day, because they have non-refundable 100% clauses, can't register a title, which is a requirement. So
definitely a good point is to find the Canadian-based content if you didn't hear about that on the camera. I actually personally took a course from Rich Dad Coaching, which I thought was Canadian-based, but that one is American-based. So beware of that label, Rich Dad. Anyone that labels themselves Rich Dad doesn't mean that they're the same company. They pay royalties to use that name. But I went with Rich Dad Coaching. They were American-based. They coached me on how to do things, and I told them, like, as a realtor, you can't do any of what you're telling me to do. And they're like, oh, we didn't know that. And it wasn't great, information.
One of the free courses on introductory things on Hillary Farr. People move from HGTV and big sales pitch, but they changed a couple things to say Edmonton, but it was American based. You could tell by some of the terms they used in there, and her accent was pretty, it wasn't Hillary Farr.
Yeah.
Well, we have brought in some fabulous speakers, as we mentioned earlier, that usually have books and material.
Oh, yes.
John Simcoe's got a good book.
Canadian.
Canadian based.
And same with, is it Greg Hasbridge?
Greg Hasbridge has an RSP.
RSP investing.
So he's not in business anymore. He still kicks around. It's still valid.
Yeah, the principles in that book are pretty valid, and a lot of people use that book. Same with the seminars that come up to Canada. You probably heard the flipping seminars with, was it flip or flop shows? Those are really American based, so you kind of, then of course they upsell. So you just want to really figure out the value for your money on those, especially if they're coming up from the States and not 100% Canadian legitimate that you could really bank on.
And they'll tell you in those courses that oh yes, all this applies to Canadian rules, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
They're just blowing smoke.
they are, yeah, they're
Start
looking
you
for your
off-
money.
Yeah, they'll start you off to $1,000 to $2,000 for the weekend, and then that's the upsell to the $15,000 to $20,000 to $30,000.
Is there
Main
any,
course.
is there any books that Rain has put out that is Canadian
Oh,
content?
Rain has lots, Don Campbell, look up Don Campbell. look
Yeah,
up
Dawn.
that stuff,
Yeah,
so 7 tips.
and that is Canadian.
Real
based,
estate,
so.
97 real estate investing tips and
And just go to the
National
little
journals
chapters
too.
or anything, look in the real estate section, you'll see Don Campbell's books, they're all good.
so that was Don Campbell. He was the Rain, just for the camera here, Rain, he was the Rain founder.
No, he
No?
wasn't the founder, but he took over,
Okay.
I think, and bought the
Yeah.
business after ran it for quite a while, and
Mhm.
he used this term, such he sold out to Patrick Nancy,
Yeah,
Richard Dolan, so.
a little bit has changed there, but yeah, no, Don Campbell has some pretty credible books. And again, 97 real estate
97
investing
tips for real estate investing.
tips for real estate investing. And then Secrets of the Canadian Real Estate Cycle, really good book. And was it the Acre book?
Acre 2.0 is his basic.
Yeah.
The authentic Canadian real estate system.
Yeah.
So,
And any Robert Kiyosaki books. He's not Canadian, but the principles of real estate investing is what a lot of investors in Canada use. I'll put some books here. I have a slide with some books that you can kind of look for. We also have a couple of book giveaways that we're going to do a draw for at the end for those of us that have attended, and you can have those books to read for yourself.
Rain has their event next weekend. Everybody knows about
Yeah. Oh, yes.
that. Weekend event, so $397. So
Yeah, $397 is what Sean MP is saying. There's a couple Rain members in the group, and for anyone that does want to attend, tickets for the 3-day weekend to a Rain event, which is a huge national company for real estate investors. It's actually called the Real Estate Intelligence Network now,
Yeah.
and $397 for guests of Rain members.
One flat rate price this year, there's no discount.
Oh,
For Rain members, bringing guests.
yeah, $397
Yeah.
for guests. So feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or email or
Good
phone.
basics and networking and learn what's going on.
Mhm.
Personally, I would advise them to join Rain and pay the monthly fee of a couple $1,000 they're asking now.
Yeah,
I've been there 13 years, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's changed.
it's changed quite a bit, but the networking is huge.
Yeah.
So that's, you can definitely get your return just by the networking. If you can get out of your comfort zone, introduce yourself to strangers, you never know who you might meet. And like who Sean met, really launched himself to grow his portfolio.
And Carrie had also purchased some books in bulk from Stefan Arnio, some of his journals. So we've got them here if you want to check them out at the end. The Black Book, it's a daily tactical journal. So it just goes through, it gives you lots of like tips and ideas and just how to stay on track of when you're in negotiations and what came out of it and the next steps. And so it's just when you
goes back.
And then this is the High Performance Strategic Journal. So again, there's just lots of tips and valuable things to kind of help you stay on track when you get into real estate, so that you're not, stuck in that analysis paralysis. Is that what you call it?
Analysis paralysis, yeah. So
Yeah,
they'll help you give you some structure for acquiring deals. Like for this one, what I see here is it basically gives you an opportunity to write down different real estate opportunities that you're finding and details about them, contact information, descriptive details, so you can keep track of all these opportunities. And then you get to kind of legitimize where these deals are coming from, how they work, and then maybe give you an idea of some sort of pattern as to what deals make sense, what don't, and then you can actually figure out what's really working through this book, the Black Book here. And then the strategic journal, it's a high performance strategic journal, like Hisdenal said. And basically it's like an agenda with goals, things to do, a daily schedule to kind of help you keep on track for things, because you can be distracted by so many day-to-day details of life, of your work, and not really hold yourself accountable to putting in the time for what it takes to find real estate, because real estate doesn't find you. You have to go find it, find the good deal so you can actually dedicate and budget your time to going towards finding the deals through these books. And
They're really real estate focused, and it gives a lot of like tips and ideas and strategies at the beginning. And even if you go on YouTube, look up Steph and Arnie online on YouTube, they'll show a lot of ideas on how to use them. And there's training on how to use them, what he recommends. So.
This book is good. It charges like $3.97 or something for this book, really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just gets you to pay for the shipping. That's it.
It's dirt cheap.
How much are we selling these books for?
We'll double check if you're interested. Come up at the end, and I think it's $29.99 and $39.99. But
$29.99.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So you can check at the end.
Oh, no, sorry, I have the books here.
They're worth more than that, but we bought them in bulk, so it's
So-
a great opportunity for our members.
$59.99 for the High Performance Strategic Journal, and $29.99 for the Black Book. And we're probably going to sell these for,
So we're $10.99, and that one was $59.99. There's $10, just $5 discount, $10 discount.
$29.99 for the
Okay.
journal,
Okay.
and then we'll sell them for $20. And then for the High Performance Strategic Journal, it's $59.99 regular, and we'll sell them for $40. For any of you that are interested, feel free to reach out to us.
Okay.
All good?
20 and 40.
40. All right, so yeah, determine your why. Big reason for why you want to do this for yourself, for your family, to build a portfolio, a legacy, a retirement fund. That will really help push you forward if you keep reminding yourself why you're doing this. It's going to be hard, but we're all here to help push people forward. Determine what kind of strategies, as I said, whether it's quick cash or passive income, whether you want to utilize high risk or low risk strategy. Consider the velocity of money, which is what Steph Arnia talks about, is how fast you can recycle your money, whether it's flipping houses when you borrow money and you flip one or two in the first year, and you borrow money for your first house in the first half of the year, and then you recycle that money to use it towards flipping the second house. That's called the velocity of money. How fast can you make it move to make you more money? So kind of think about that. There's more conservative investors that don't like to, do the higher risk strategies such as flipping. They just want to do the buy, rent, and hold. Think about how you're going to acquire them. Write down your biggest assets that you have to be a part of any deal. And maybe you're limited in one area. So write down what you do have, write down what you don't have, and go and seek out from other people, other professionals, on how you can gain what you don't have. Find the puzzle pieces to your puzzle that are missing. So we're here to help you find those puzzle pieces per se. Figure out how to leverage yourself, whether it's you have more time, knowledge, skills, expertise, capital, or credit. And say you have all this done. Take action. Now, taking action is more difficult than what it seems. A lot of people think that, I'm going to be writing 10 offers at the end of the month, but they just never get around to writing that first offer because it's like, oh my God, what if they say yes, then what? Don't worry about that. That's, what we have to teach. And if you work with a good realtor, they'll help you put in the conditions so that you can exit out of that offer if you feel like you can't find that capital or that joint venture partner to help you execute that deal. So write the offer, get it accepted, and then figure out the rest later with the right conditions protecting you if you ever need to exit from that deal. So I wanted to write down a diagram here, which I think will really help people, because taking action is huge, and it's a huge hurdle, and it was for me. It took me 3 years before I took my first action from taking any of the courses in education that I took, that I decided to take to kind of move myself forward. So 3 years is a long time to acquire your first property. Hopefully it doesn't take a whole bunch of other people that long. So you can try and do things for free, right? Or for minimal cost when it comes to the cost of education and being able to put yourself to acquire that first property. So you can, at a low cost, attend presentations. I'll put that down here. go to classes, maybe some small courses without having to put a lot of money, get books, read books, that takes up time, but still very critical. Watch webinars online, connect with people, pick people's brains, right? So that's all free, but it takes time too. So I'm gonna put down time right here. So this is more time, with the big arrow. And this is less time. And if you wanna upscale and go a little bit faster, you can, get advisors, pay them for their time. And so you have advisors here. So different advisors could be professionals, right? Like Sean and P. Donnell, myself, different lawyers, different people with experience, right? Like if one of you has, fourplexes and you're interested in a fourplex, connect with those people and get their advice from them. And up here, you might want to pay them for their time because, no one really works for free, but, some might have coffee or dinner with you just to kind of, see how you can work together. There's coaches. So this is a little bit more money. Many different coaches out here. And I'm going to write down here that down here it's less money. And I got my arrow right. This is more money. But it collapses your time frame. So coaches will help keep you accountable. They'll give you legitimate advice, legitimate encouragement, and help guide you and hold your hand to enable you to get those properties. So these are a little bit more money than advisors and very legitimate. They're known to collapse time frames for yourself. And then even more so, you could do, here might be your power team. And joint venture partners. So these can be a little bit more expensive if you joint venture with someone, because joint venture partners want a little cut of your deal where, you can pay a coach $5,000, but a joint venture partner might want to, if you want to joint venture with them, they might ask for 30, 25, 50% of your deal to help make it successful. The good thing about joint ventures is that they minimize risk. So that's another thing here, is that you're going to minimize your risk as you move up this little diagram. So here you're going to watch all this, you decide you want your first deal, but it doesn't give you the experience or knowledge that maybe some of these people have to help mitigate any risk. So if you decide to get a flip property and think you know it all after reading a few books, it could be a little bit more riskier because you're not relying on any of the experience and expertise of these people. So if you have risk down here, more riskier. And there's that. And so time, and then action and accountability. So here is at the top, action and accountability. If you get a coach or a joint venture partner, you're going to increase your chances of taking action and accountability for yourself. They're going to hold you accountable and kind of help you hold your hand to make sure that you take action. So here, it increases your chances of making things happen for yourself. So if that makes sense, again, remind yourself, how much are you willing to invest yourself to move yourself forward faster? Again, so that's another thing you want to consider. You do things fast as you kind of move up this, and then it might be a little bit slower for you to read 10 or 20 books on the different strategies. So things you want to consider. How much are you willing to invest yourself to get yourself more properties faster? Myself, it took me 3 years. I invested $50,000. I have 6 stores right now. uncomfortable. I think I've made that money back. It's all within the properties, but I've used a mixture of these 3 different items. I've probably paid maybe about 5 or 6 different coaches, and I have 1 joint venture partner right now, and things are going quite well. And I believe in this, but I really think the risk mitigation is all up in here when it comes to minimizing risk. The benefit that my joint venture partner had is that he has no experience, education, or expertise. He was really scared to pull the trigger until, I said that, let's do this together, I'll help. And then this property is amazing and beautiful. Like, it's no problems at all. And this was really good for him because, who knows, maybe he could have put different tenants in there that he didn't know how to screen properly, and it could have been the opposite situation. I think it was Tony Robbins. I don't know how to quote this, but he says, he who has all the money can get experience from the man with all the experience, and then the man with the experience will get all the money. And then as you do that first deal, that can be reversed. So does that diagram make sense? Do you have any questions? So that's just one way to think about planning how to do your portfolio, how to move yourself forward, and what you can consider for yourself when it comes to getting yourself on that success rate for growing your portfolio.
One comment is,
Okay, yes.
I'm sure the people you're talking to don't have a vested interest in selling you something that they're coaching you about.
Yeah. Sorry, what do you mean? That they don't have a vested interest in
Selling you something, getting your money for an investment
Oh.
or anything like that.
Yes. Yeah. So Sean is saying, beware of the coaches that you're going with, that they don't have a vested interest
I'm
just
not
to,
trying to sell you a piece of real estate or
Their own
Something
real
like that.
estate or.
to sell you their own real estate or
So-
just to get your
Yeah.
money without,
Maybe just selling you the course without a bunch of information.
we're selling you a course
if
with,
their coaches, advisors, ask them how many pieces of real estate they got themselves, how much their portfolio is.
Mhm.
They won't tell you, and they probably don't have that either.
Yeah.
So,
So make sure who you go to has credible experience and knowledge.
been there, done that, yeah.
Been there, done that, so you can't take a course from someone that hasn't done it themselves, which is a really great point. And I think Edna Keep does also, she does emphasize that you have to do your due diligence on all of these, right? Like, find out how credible a resource all of these people are. Does this joint venture partner have that experience? And maybe phone some references, like maybe someone can phone Danelle or people in the room, like, do they know Cindy? Who is she? What has she been doing, right? And phone reference checks on, people where you can, or ask people in the room for like the different courses that are available, how they felt about that, whether it's legitimate content. And like Sean Impey says, just beware that, there's a lot of people out there to get your money not providing that legitimate content back. Kind of like my experience with that Rich Dad coaching program from the US, where it literally sounded like the guy that I was talking to on the other side of the phone was sitting on his couch watching TV, eating a bag of chips while I was asking this questions. So it was, it sounded like that. So it was lesson learned, $5,000. It was hard to, but yeah. Ask people around there if they've taken similar coaching courses. Any other questions? or
Yeah, I
thoughts?
think you're right. There's a lot of people in this room that have indeed invested lots of money in coaching, and they know the programs that circulate around. So it's really quite easy to make a phone call and say, hey, what do you know about this program or that one on the internet or whatever? Because there is a wealth of resources right here. There's a lot of people that have taken a lot of different kinds of education. So it would be valuable to just, like you said, do a reference check and say, what about this program that I saw on the internet? Is it something that looks legitimate or whatever?
Like any property, you mitigate your risk by doing your research before you spend your money, right? Because spending your money can be a big expense, and you don't want to just throw it away like I did and learn the hard way. So
So Cindy, is that something that you can be on the private Facebook page? Like somebody said, Well, I come across this neat course, right?
Mhm.
And others that we've been there, done that, something, right? Watch for this, ask for that,
Yeah.
like, is it, do we overstep any bounds or do anything like doing that?
I don't think so, as long as you're speaking from credible experience, right? And not just saying like, oh, it's
I'm
black
just
and
slamming,
white.
just, you know,
Yeah.
been there, done that, that's what you.
This is how I felt, maybe you have a different experience, take it as you will, right? But just be careful because that's what happened to me, is how I would go about it, but yeah, and I think you don't have to be a Facebook member, you can pretty much be a non-member and still, network and ask the legitimate questions, especially for courses that like John Simcoe has to offer, right, on RSP lending or coaching, and then same with Sept Arneo. There's a few of us that have taken his courses. There's a few Keyspire members as well, and I hear they're pretty expensive to get involved with, and it's a big chunk of your money, so you want to make sure that you're investing it right to make that money back. I think Keyspire is from the States, but I think they do have legitimate. They're trying to give that legitimate Canadian content aspect to things and trying to hook you up with a good Canadian resources and professionals to kind of really move you forward.
Scott McGilvery is
Yeah.
he's a spokesperson for Keyspire.
He's like the figurehead of Keyspire, and yeah, I'm one of their realtors actually. I get Christmas cards from them.
I think a few of us have done Ross Lytle's courses too, so.
Ross Lytle's another one where he does real estate coaching, business coaching, and likes his strategy of rent to owns. Russell
Steph
Westcott,
Arneo.
yeah, Sept Arneo, Russell Westcott, the JV Jedi, and
There's a lot of experience in this group, so,
Yeah.
Maybe we ask.
feel free to, post messages, reach out, call us, and we'll be able to put you in the right direction if we don't know the answer on things. So another thing to consider if you're starting your journey is, build your resources. I think I elaborated on this, education, coaches, where to find deals, who to connect with to find the right deals, whether it's agents, other investors, or strategy providers like Andrea Workington. Networking is huge. I think I heard the conversation where Gail was pretty introverted when she started, but she managed to get out of her shell and started networking, and she's doing amazing for herself. And I admit that I'm naturally introverted, and when I became a realtor, I did break out of my shell, and that's changed my world when it comes to doing real estate deals and my job, right? Because I can't be sitting at my house and waiting for that phone to call. I have to get out there and make calls myself and hunt for my clients and work with them, right? And then, again, ask yourself, how much are you willing to invest in yourself? How serious are you? Seriously consider market cycles and risk mitigation. If you don't study those, you might be in a little bit more of a riskier situation. There's a few times where people are selling flip properties in a recession, which hasn't worked out so well because they bought at the wrong time and they're trying to sell in a downward slope or cycle. So you want to be able to utilize the right strategies at the right times, mitigate your risk, and know your market cycles. Know when there might be a little bit of a upswing in the market, and you sell at the right times and buy at the right times when you're making money. Don't buy when all the prices are inflated and then you're going to sell 3 or 4 years from now in a rent to own, right? Did you have a question? No, okay.
The market is timing. There's a lot of flippers in Edmonton who are
Market timing is,
making their wounds right now because they bought.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still getting phone calls from.
Yeah.
Can you help me out? Can you help me out?
Buy a property the wrong time of year, you'll buy it in the spring and not finish it till November.
Market timing is huge, and
So
ask the experts.
selling in a very low demand market and the prices have dropped, so a 40,000 profit
Yeah.
has turned into maybe a loss.
Mhm.
Sales and loss, yeah.
And they can't sell, they've got borrowed money, private money and stuff like that, so just keeps bleeding.
Exactly. So yes, flipping, very much a riskier strategy. You have to know what you're doing, work with the right contractors, work with the right real estate agents to sell it for as much as you can. And be knowledgeable about the market cycle. You don't wanna sell in a recession where you're losing money. What else here?
Every market has a good strategy.
Sorry?
Every market has a good strategy, you just have to figure out which one.
Right.
Yeah, he said every market has a good strategy, you just have to know.
Agreement for sales are a good strategy in
Yeah.
these days in the market, so,
Mhm.
in my opinion. So,
Yep, and have your exits planned, right? That's huge. I learned about planning your exits, and not a lot of people do that. Ask yourself the what if scenario. Say, oh, I have a plan to sell this property in 3 years for whatever strategy you're using, but if I can't sell it, what am I gonna do? Am I going to enter into another rent to own? Am I going to try and wholesale the property? Am I going to try and rent it out until the market recovers? So plan your exits, just in case things don't work out the way you planned. Have a backup plan, plan B or C, and don't put yourself into a hole that you can't get out of because you didn't plan for an unplanned event. Final thoughts. I'm gonna turn this back on again. Pull up some books. What's on there? You won't do that.
That's the whole flavor.
Here, go.
You don't want to sit your hand.
Oh.
I've got heels on. Okay. I can reach it.
Oh, you can? Okay, I have.
Here,
Okay, there you go.
Technology guy.
This guy will. Right. Okay. There we go.
Teamwork.
Comedy break.
Good job, ladies.
Good power.
Okay, now I have to plug this in.
Do you have a slide in the book who our speakers are?
No, I don't have any yet. So we're past our break. Here's that slide about market cycles. Oops. So yeah, time yourself in the market. This shows historical trends. Yes, here, no break. Networking slide. Is that different?
It's got some different ideas for
Different ideas for
education.
education. Cashflow Diary is a good website. And what else here? Biggerpockets.com, good website for free information. It's like Investopedia.
It's American, but it's good.
Yeah, it gives the basics of real estate investing a lot and just principles. Utilize that. Words to live by. Okay, well, I want to let you know that your first deal is always the hardest. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. You're going to be in a lot of uncomfortable situations, so you just have to get used to that and be able to call your friends to kind of reassure you that things will be okay, especially those experienced ones. Be prepared to be humiliated. You're going to be putting in possibly a bunch of offers that are pretty low, and you might get yelled at by different agents or sellers saying, "You're ridiculous, go take a hike." I think Sean Claremont was called a Yahoo by one agent. So yeah, just expect to be shunned maybe sometimes if you're especially getting out there and trying a bunch of lowball offers and creative strategies that a lot of people don't understand. So they're gonna look at you all weird, like, what are you talking about? That really does not happen when, people do that. And educate and network. Think win-win situations, and have integrity. I've learned, and I really live by the integrity and creating win-win. I don't like to hear about investors that take advantage of other people's situations just to make themselves a quick bucks and throw other people under the bus, or take advantage of a seller who's going through foreclosure and taking their family for all that they've got. Having integrity could mean You know, and I've heard of other investors that say, okay, well, you're in a situation, I can help you out because your last resort is to go through foreclosure and bankruptcy and be on the streets. So I'll take over your property, pay you the $70,000 left in your mortgage, even though your property is worth $150,000, and here's a good $10,000-$15,000 for your family, because there is that margin still for profit and still giving that family a good start, right? So you want to really be mindful of the people that you're doing deals with and be considerate. Don't just kind of take it people for all that they've got to make yourself want to up on things. Yeah, there's always win-win strategies. You can negotiate win-win, but still kind of think of your upside. If you're not gaining an upside on anything, maybe there is no deal to be had. And then full disclosure and transparency. Don't hide things from people just to kind of take advantage of the situation. Give people the ability to make an informed decision when it comes to you know, doing deals with them, because you don't want to develop yourself a negative reputation as the person who does this, because in the long run that's not going to benefit you. Other than that, that's pretty much the basics of what I have actually to provide for real estate, hoping that helps you when it comes to your real estate journey. There's so much to know and learn, so that's so way beyond what this had to offer. So we might incorporate some workshops. Feel free to reach out, message me on questions you have, or if you want to see a workshop on how to analyze properties or different strategies that you're interested in. We might be able to put up a workshop, or how to screen tenants, how to be a property manager. Any topics that you're interested in, message us and we'll see if we can't, you know, maybe do a mini workshop or a mini gathering or even a seminar if there's enough interest to kind of discuss more on, you know, what you're interested in to help you move forward. Hopefully we'll get some cash flow gains going, and cash flow is Robert Kiyosaki's game for showing people how to change their mind about how they think about money, opening up their mindset and being able to learn how to analyze deals to, you know, be profitable. So we'll keep posts on the Facebook groups on information about any additional events and information. Other than that, we're done. We can go into Q&A if anyone has any questions or any deals to present.
Did you have a list of books that you?
I do have a list of books. Once I put back my controller. Or it's on the computer. Books. There we go. So some good books there. There's only a few out of the many that I posted here. RRSP Secret here is by Greg Hasbritt. Guide to Investing, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and #1 book that a lot of people use for their real estate investing principles. Money People Deal is by Stephen Arnio. A lot of Don Campbell books, as Sean Impey mentioned. And yeah, feel free to reach out to us for any other book ideas and thoughts.
And maybe if anybody has any secondhand books that you've read that you want to bring and offer for discounted price to resell to the group, that would be a great idea too. If you've already read it, I probably have a few around home.
Yeah, here's some of our past presenters here. That's Russell Westcott, Stephen Arnio, Randy Bett, Ross Lytle, Danelle with the Place to Mortgage has presented. Alaire Custom Homes, they actually had a suited home new build project that cash flowed really well. And John Simcoe, who teaches about RSP investing and rent-to-owns and coaching. And that's it.
So you get to go back to that one slide,
Books.
because I can't write fast.
Yeah, I'll keep that on there. Other than that, when you're done, any more questions? No? I'll pull up one deal that I have so far. And I'll try to explain another one. Well, maybe just the one for now, because the other one's not that great. It's an agreement for sale. It's in Sunnybrook. Do you want to write more stuff in?
No.
Oh. One property in Sunnybrook that a realtor friend of mine has. Her son owns it. He needs out of his mortgage, and the mortgage is about $250,000. the margin in on that if you were to renovate it, because he started renovating it, but he had to stop because he's separating with his wife, and they're about to go through foreclosure on that property. And the after repair value, after it's all fixed up, could possibly be on the conservative side, $350,000. Might require about $80,000 of renovation, so that margin is not as great. But if you have contractor experience or want to live in the property yourself, you can certainly, increase that margin for things. And then $350,000 is on the conservative side, only because we are in a recession. I don't know what that will look like in a year or two from now. It could be 360, it could be 370. It's in the neighborhood of Sunnybrook here in Red Deer, so there's no real cap on value. I just looked at sales in that area, and you would probably get $350,000 if you did the right renovations professionally. I only say that because I worked with a couple of investors that tried to cut corners doing their renovations, and it was very obvious, and they look at me, why isn't it selling it for what you quoted me? And I pointed out to them that, it's really obvious that the finishes weren't professional, and you just have to be wary about, the contractor grade and being able to do those renovations properly to gain that value. And then there's this one. So there's
Everybody
this.
know what agreement for sale is? You've been throwing it around.
Oh, okay, I will explain what agreement for sale is for people that don't know. I did explain it once over the break. So agreement for sale, correct me if I'm wrong in trying to explain it, but it's a strategy where an investor can take over someone's mortgage. I don't know if it's quite assuming their mortgage.
It's not.
No, it's not assuming.
Agreement to purchase the home
It's
down the road.
Okay, an agreement to purchase the home down the road. So basically, an agreement for sale gives you all equitable rights to the property, unless you have an agreement. Otherwise, that gives the owner some equitable benefit, but it basically gives you all equitable benefit. That includes they stay on the mortgage, they stay on the title, the owner does, and you save them in most situations from bankruptcy and foreclosure, because that's the situation that they need to get out of. So you take control of the property, all equitable benefit, and that gives you the right to all of the principal pay down of their mortgage, all passive income, which is the cash flow, as well as any profits from the proceeds of sale in the property. So there's 3 profit centers that you can gain on an agreement for sale. They stay on the mortgage and title, and your interest gets registered on the title as an agreement for sale, realizing all equitable benefits.
The owner is the bank, basically. He's your bank.
The owner is the bank.
The bank carries the mortgage for you.
Oh, yes, good point. So Sean was saying that the owner is the bank. They're basically carrying the mortgage for you while you take control of the property and gain all equitable interest.
In the down market, somebody who's bought a house in the last couple of years with 5% down, and time they paid their CMHC insurance, they're almost 100% financed anyways. So they bought it for 400, their mortgage might be 385 or 390. If the house has dropped $15,000 or $20,000, now it's only worth 380. They paid a little bit of mortgage, so they'll probably break even. So if they have to move out of their house for whatever reason, job transfer, or any other reason, they're going to pay a realtor to sell it, so that's going to cost them $15,000 to $20,000. And they're going to have, if they bought a 5-year mortgage from especially if they bought it from a big bank, they're going to have substantial penalties. So they can't sell their house unless they've got a check for maybe $30,000. They're break even, so you can take over basically for what they owe. In certain circumstances. So you can control the house, and you can rent it out. You can do a rent to own it, or
You can flip it.
you could possibly flip it down the road. So
B&B.
Airbnb, there's all kinds of opportunities if you have. And if you can get into it for very little money, most agreement for sales, you give the owner something to get out of the property, and maybe have to go rent something or whatever, maybe a few $1,000s. You get a $400,000 house for a couple of $1,000. Anything you make on that, on your ROI is pretty high.
Yeah.
It's not a strategy for your very first year.
No. And having,
You need to talk to somebody who's done something like that, so, and you have to have the right contracts and stuff like that. Great real estate, because very few lawyers understand dealing for sales and how it all works. It's a great strategy. A lot of people that do it. So in Calgary, I think we do. Andrew does a lot of her deals with dealing for sales. So
oh yes.
gets in for next to nothing. So
And having a
yeah.
having a good knowledge of all your strategies is good too. You know, if you're still a beginner investor, you might know a couple different strategies, but if you know like 5 or 6 different strategies that you can amalgamate and kind of utilize with that property, you can make a good profit if you know the right strategy to use with that to, you know, really get that good premium for profit on there. I'm gonna bring this closer.
Maybe you'll qualify for a mortgage down the road and sell to somebody else. Another point that you talked about the BRRRR strategy, you know, buy, rental, rent, refinance and stuff like that. If you plan to refinance, make sure you talk to Danielle or mortgage brokers, figure out if you actually can refinance it. I have people come to me, so I bought this property, I fixed it up, and I want to refinance, I can't get a mortgage. And then what's changed? Nothing, because we didn't talk to the mortgage broker or anybody before, somebody who didn't qualify. So we get stuck with expensive private money on the property. Need to get out of it. So planning. So.
Planning, definitely a good point.
It's really, you know, there's only 2 things you can do with a property: you keep it or you can flip it. And how you flip it is a lot of different ways. You fix it up and sell it, or you do agreement for sale and you get rid of it down the road, or you put it in rent to own, or you actually buy it, put your name on it, and then you hold it as a long-term rental. So there's other ways you can do that as well. So.
For sure, definitely good points, and feel free to reach out to any of us on, you know, if you land an opportunity, how you can be helped with either selling that opportunity or utilizing it for yourself. So, good. There is anything else? Questions on that? No? Okay, so this is a property that a realtor friend of mine has. I am allowed to disclose that, well, it's 4 townhouses is what it is, built this year. It's currently listed for $975,000, but I heard that the seller's willing to go around $900,000. So that makes it a little bit more attractive here. So you get 4 properties, 4 titles, and I would recommend talking to a mortgage broker to see if you can put that all under one mortgage.
Not likely, Danielle, with 4 titles. Very few do it.
Under an umbrella. I think it's a commercial mortgage might.
Yeah, on that side, you pay more money doing residentials, probably before.
So something to talk about, whether someone would qualify for 4 different mortgages or whether there's a possibility of umbrellaing them under one mortgage. I heard you can, but I don't know what the limitations are on that. So there's that thought out there. So she's saying each townhouse can be purchased separately for $248,800. So there's a chance to profit on that if you were to just flip and sell them separately, maybe at one point in the future when the market looks better. She's also quoting here that they could be rented out for, I believe it was $1,600. And that would have been a quote from our property manager at the realty store, Matthew Laverne. So that's just not a number that she put out there. It would be good for you to verify at the time if anyone decides to put an offer that this is a legitimate thought to rent each out at $1,600. So these are the details on the property. Feel free to message me for more information. I also have a property analysis sheet here, which I will show you, the one that I talked about.
These condos and sport, are they
They're townhouses, no condo fees. Yeah. So this is the spreadsheet that I use and probably requires another course or explanation on how to really consider the nuts and bolts of it. I'll just get that up here. And the title is wrong. I'll just tell you what happens. So this spreadsheet utilizes a lot of information. Up here is the property information. So I have it in here as 900,000. Maybe you can get it for that. Not too sure, but it sounds like you might be able to. Vacancy rate 8%. So what that is I think about 1.5 months vacancy for one of the units I think each of the units for the whole year. So that might be a little high. You can make that 5%. Advertising cost minimal. That's actually 4 units. And then a conservative annual appreciation here. CMHC has an average annual appreciation of 3% over a 10-year average. It's a down market right now, conservatively 2%. Recommend holding it for 10-year to realize that year after year appreciation. This right here is your purchase information. So everything that you put in would go right here to acquire the property. That's the purchase price, and then your inspections, appraisal fees. I think it might be higher than that for getting an appraisal on all 4 properties, and your legal expenses. So that would be an additional $5,780 on top of the $900. If I go down here, you get your financing information. So this gives you an idea of your debt financing for expenses. And your total monthly payment for that mortgage is about $3,000 if you were to umbrella it under one mortgage. So I don't know what the details would look like if you were to get 4 separate mortgages, and that might be something that would be another conversation with as well. Now this next column gives you a really good idea of your net operating income. So what I was talking about earlier is you have your gross rents, and then any additional income that you're generating from the property, which there isn't much else for this, whether you're renting a garage out or a storage shed, you put it in here. Your vacancy loss I have as 8%, so that's saying that, okay, well, you'll be losing 6,000 of that in the year to get your effective gross income. Now you have all your expenses, so as I discussed earlier, it can be really detailed and you can easily make a deal not work if you were to really be very conservative on everything here. I'm highly analytical and I like to be conservative, but then I make a lot of deals not work. So you want to try and balance that with what you feel could work, but still be realistic at the same time. So I've got property tax in there, insurance. I don't really have any unit repairs. We could add like 5%, but they're brand new properties, so I don't see a lot going on with that.
Warranty, you go warranty on them?
Yeah. So home warranty would be mechanical, electrical, structural, and workmanship for, I guess, scaled time frames. So I included the unit repairs. I think the tenants would probably pay all of their utilities since they're all metered separately. And I believe they will, and that was considered as part of the 1,600 that tenants would be paying their own utilities. These are just automated. They're log cells. I can't adjust them, but it's considering the advertising cost, pest control and security lock changes, and then accounting fees. Eviction costs could be a possibility, may or may not be. And then you get your total expenses. So your total expenses would be your income minus, your expenses is everything here. And then your net operating income is your gross income minus or effective income minus your expenses. Here's where you get your net operating income and then your capital improvements allowance. That gives you your net operating income. So I'll go to the next sheet and you'll kind of see how this plays out. On this property, it summarizes everything that I just talked about here. So you have your effective gross income, which is right here, minus your expenses, which is totaled down here, and then you minus your capital cost allowance,
maybe high, I don't know, but it's a brand new property, so $3,000 over 10 year could get you $30,000 to replace shingles, maybe hot water tanks, maybe furnaces. And then you get your net income calculation minus your mortgage servicing. So what I was talking about earlier, in 20 years on these fourplexes, if you were to eliminate that debt servicing, that would be your annual income on those 4 properties. That could be a pretty nice income for you as you get tenants to pay off your properties in 20 years and when you retire. Now, for now, it's $36,000. Then you get your annual cash flow on these properties. So your monthly cash flow would be about $1,300, and your cash flow per unit is about $327. So using all the information here, this is what you get. Again, disclosure here is, all of these numbers are unique to each person's situation and what they feel they need to sustain for the property, for expenses, and what the market will show for income, and what they would qualify for a mortgage and what kind of a mortgage they would get. So all of these numbers would need to be detailed individually for each person to figure out their true cash flow for their situation. And this would just be used as a basis for, what that property could look like for them as they take it on. And then here is just, it shows a breakdown of your property analysis. Your loan to value, 75%, so that just means you're putting 25% down on the property. Cap rate, 6.11%, pretty decent, especially for the central Alberta area. We see averages of about maybe 4%. 5 and 6% are quite nice. Average cost per unit, $225,000 for a townhouse. Average gross rent, $1,600. Then this is your gross, forget what it is, gross rent margin. The net coverage ratio, you always want to keep that above 1.2 at least. I know some banks will take under 1.25 or 1.3-ish. 1.2. And then these are the ROI calculations, as I explained earlier. So your cash on cash ROI is a lot better than the 1.9% that I calculated in my 3 townhouses at 6.81%. Your equity ROI is 5.64. Appreciation ROI over a 10-year average, and this one's after 1 year, 7.8. So you get your total ROI of 20.25 to 0.25%. Of course, appreciation ROI is a little negative. It's a brand new property, and I can explain more of that later. Expense to income ratio right there, and that would be just another box to explain later. So that's just how this property performs. And if anyone's interested, I can give them the information and they can figure out what these numbers look like for them if this is something of interest. It's located in Blackfalds. I think I forgot to mention that. But Blackfalds is a sustainable town 10 minutes north of Red Deer. That's what I got for deals. Anyone else have questions or deals? So much. Guess that's it. No questions? We're done.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and listening and watching and introducing yourself so we can get to know you. Have a good weekend.
Oh, and the next event is what day?
Oh, next event. Let me just pull that up here.
Oh, and the draw. Let's do our draw.
Draw for 2 books. I'll pull those up here too. Next event.
Do you guys got it?
Oops, started again.
Do you want to sell them too?
Do you guys want to do the draw? Who's gonna shake? Hold it up.
Need an unbiased
There you
person.
go. Yeah, right beside you.
You're on.
Good.
Okay, I'm drawn. Wait, next event, October 19th, write that down.
2019.
Get that in your calendar.
October 19th, 2019. Write that, as Gail said, in your calendar. We'll mention who the next presenter is and what topics we will talk about.
But if you plan to attend that, make sure you get your membership before October 1st because it's only $100 right now. It's going to go up to $120 as of this date, so if you wait till then.
The draw is happening.
Still.
Hold it still.
Here, this one.
There's 2 books, so there's 2 books.
2 books, 2 draws. First draw. First name, Terry Chappelle.
Yay!
Which book do you want? We have Outliers and ABCs of Real Estate Investing. Robert Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki.
Nice.
My name's in there, so it
Oh, his name's Jackson.
would be really.
Well, that wouldn't be very good.
I'm gonna show you what books online.
It's this one.
That looks like a winner.
It is Sean.
Sean Impey.
Oh,
So
there you go.
for attending, we were giving away these 2 books. We'll get the links on.
Oh, that's, thank you.
Awesome.
Robert Kiyosaki's Why A Students Work for C Students. I think I quoted that wrong earlier. And Outliers, very informational book about success. So the winners were Terry Chappelle and Sean Impey.
Great.
There you go.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Congratulations.
See you next month.
Hi, Neil. Good to meet you. I forgot your name. Or we can do a redraw.